Welcome to the Boosted Volunteer Podcast. We share the stories of dedicated Booster Club volunteers and the tools and strategies they use to run successful booster clubs. We also have sought-out experts on fundraising, volunteer management, and running nonprofits to share best practices. Hosted by Robin Eisler and Evan Eisler, you won't want to miss these great episodes that will help you run your booster club like a champ.
Hi, and welcome to the Boosted Volunteer. I'm Robin Eisler. Today we're talking with Chris Sharps, who's the social media coordinator for the Polar Bear Band Boosters in West Virginia. Chris is passionate about marching band, and he's been involved in nonprofit work during his quote-unquote day job, increasing engagement and enrollment and working with technology. Chris, we're excited to have you. Thank you for joining the Boosted Volunteer today. Well, let's start at the beginning. What first got you involved with Fairmont Senior High School Marching Band? Was there like a specific moment when you thought, I need to jump in and help? Tell us how your road to being a booster got started.
Sure. So I have three sons. So my oldest joined band as a sixth grader in beginning band. The way our middle school and high school are broken up, there's a sixth grade director that's shared among multiple sites, and then the high school director directs the seventh grade and eighth grade bands. So the eighth graders, by audition, are eligible to join and march with the high school band. So my oldest son did that the summer between seventh and eighth grade year, qualified and joined in. The first request came in and it was, we need male chaperones for band camp. I think a lot of bands and a lot of band directors can really relate to that because you typically do have more female volunteers than you do males in most organizations, especially when it requires a week away with teenagers at band camp. So that was the first request that came in. And that very next year, I was nominated and then elected to a member at large position on our booster board. So that's where it all got started.
You got thrown into the fire a little bit.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I've been involved with like youth development organizations and things for years. So, I mean, for me to step in and chaperone a cottage of teenage boys, I was like, okay.
Now, tell us a little bit about your day job. Well, I mean, I know if you're a booster, it is your day job, but tell us about your work and your background and how that prepared you.
Yeah, so the majority of my career, I spent in higher education in recruitment and enrollment management. A lot of what I did within those jobs was technology integration. COVID-19 came along, really changed everything about the higher education space. I'd gotten into that dream job that I had really always wanted. And COVID just popped my bubble. I mean, it was just like, wow, this is terrible. So I took all of the skills in technology integration, system improvement, system management that I had worked on in both not only higher education, but also worked a few years for an ed tech nonprofit with technology integration in the classroom in second through sixth grade. So that was a bit of a learning curve too. Really enjoyed that job. Really enjoyed working with the teachers in that role. And then really the position came open. A friend of mine sent a position to me. He was like, hey, this is what you've done in a different space. So I work in healthcare technology now and with technology integration, specifically in the knowledge management arena. So working with training development, but also specifically within the management of knowledge platforms. So an IT adjacent job.
Got it. Probably using a lot of AI, I would imagine, in that.
That is absolutely at the forefront of what we are doing now. And getting that stood up in the enterprise space is a huge challenge, but it is also cool to be on the cutting edge of that stuff. So when I interact with a chat bot, I am constantly critiquing what its answers are because I'm like, that's not what it should be answering.
Yeah, we do a lot of that here. We have a help center and Booster Hub that we provide for the users. And one of my big roles is constantly adding to it to get it smarter and smarter. And it's getting there. It's getting there.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, tell us a little bit about the Fairmont Senior High Band program. What makes it special? What makes it unique?
So Fairmont Senior High School traces its history all the way back to the late 1800s. The first marching band, as we would recognize a marching band now, was long about 1931. So we have a very long tradition, very long history. and really great history of excellence and student engagement. We're not a super competitive program. We typically will do maybe 1 to 2 competitions a year at most. We are not one of those bands that is out every weekend. We are a very, very traditional show style marching band. So we do really engaging and exciting field shows that are really meant for the audience of a fall football game. I know a lot of bands kind of struggle with that, and no one's paying attention during halftime. Well, a lot of field shows today are art pieces, especially, I mean, we're in West Virginia. You put that kind of a field show in front of a crowd, and it's like, what is this? So it really is more about the audience. I truly do appreciate like the really high level competitive style of marching, like in the spirit of DCI. I love that, love watching it. But it's just not the spirit or persona of our high school band. We're a band of typically anywhere between 85 to 100 in any given year. We are not an audition band. We are open enrollment to open to any student at the high school. We typically are very, very engaged in fundraising activities. We have the truck, we have the trailer, all of those different things. We are very fortunate to run in partnership with our rival high school across town because we are unique in the vicinity of the town itself. There are 2 high schools, Fairmont Senior High School, which is on the west side of town, and East Fairmont High School, which is on the east side of town. So we're big rivals. Allegedly, I think that rivalry has died a little bit over the years, but we partner with them to run the concession stands at the stadium. So our stadium is lacrosse, soccer, football, youth football, midget league football, all of the sports happen at the stadium in town. So we are very fortunate to have that as a revenue stream and as a big fundraiser. We just changed up all of our concession operations this year. We partner with a third party to run the basics and the business of it, and then we do a full staffing of it. So we just did a hit reset on that this year, and our booster president has done a tremendous job in leading that effort. And we switched over to Square registers and accept credit cards and all that stuff now. So that's been a big learning curve this year, and kudos to her for having all the know-how to do that.
Question for you. When you switched over to credit cards, did your sales go up?
We have seen a dramatic uptick in sales this year. So for any organization that is still cash only, I know that it can be hard to get that technology integration going, but please do not do it through Cash App, through Venmo. It is a little bit harder to get those tied directly to a nonprofit with banking regulations and all of that. And just for the sake of ease, try to do it through one of the dedicated register platforms or any of the other available direct technologies that you can. Because not only is it a way, if you're using a register style system, you can do inventory, track all of your sales, see what's selling, see what's not selling. It helps you forecast, it helps you purchase, all of that stuff. So if you can do it, by all means, please try your best to hop on the train and accept credit cards.
We find almost across the board when the clubs switch from just accepting cash or cash alternatives and accepting credit cards, their sales usually go up between 30 and 50%. And it's funny because the pushback is always like, oh, there's some credit card fees, 1 or 2%. And I always say, you're going to be shocked. Like, you're going to be shocked that people will come up and spend $20 instead of $5.
Yeah. And would you rather make 30% more and lose 3%? So, I mean, there's one line of business. Let's just say popcorn, for example. You could basically write off all of your popcorn sales as your credit card fees and still be ahead. I mean, so when you consider everything, the other really hard part too is making sure that you have enough cash on hand. It's really hard to know in any given weekend how many people are going to just fork over $20, a $20 bill for a $2 purchase. So you end up having to make change of all varieties. And honestly, it can be really challenging to get the appropriate amount of bills from a bank these days. Our huge fall fundraiser is our band spectacular, which is an exhibition style performance of all of our local bands that we invite in. We just celebrated our 60th year this year, big anniversary year, but we have to request all of our change for that event 2 weeks in advance. And it's a little bit hard to do that with an all volunteer staff. So,
then you have all that cash running around, right?
I worked in higher education long enough where there were times that a student would come into the business office with $18,000 in cash to pay a tuition bill. And that makes me very nervous. It's like,
I left a volleyball fundraiser and I had $9,200 in my purse, and it was a Sunday night. Actually, it was a Saturday night, so I couldn't get it to the bank till Monday. And I'm thinking, gosh, one, I'm uncomfortable having all this cash in my purse. And two, no one else really knows I have it because I had the count sheet with me. So I thought,
right.
like, who's going to make sure this gets to the bank, you know?
And I mean, it's really sad to say, but I've seen just in the news headlines this year of 2 or 3 youth booster organizations, not just one band that we can probably all find news articles on, but where embezzlement happens. And anytime you're dealing in a cash operation, the liability of that goes up exponentially. So anytime you can alleviate that, have double responsibility, night deposit box, whatever is available, cash can be really hard to deal with.
It can. It definitely can. Well, kudos to you guys for going through the process to improve the systems.
Yep,
I
absolutely.
love to hear that. So what caught my eye, Chris, and the reason we started talking was we were on a band forum together and you were talking about a fundraiser and you said, it's amazing. We hit our goal. This is what we did. Can you tell us about it? Walk us through what you did from start to finish. What were you raising money for? What was the target? How did you get there?
So this story starts last year before the 2024 band camp. Last year, I was just elected in for my first round as social media chair. I'm on a long drive back and I get this craze back from dropping my dog off for my partner to watch. And I get this crazy idea. I was like, let's run a fundraiser via social media during band camp. And if we hit our goal, we're going to dump a cooler of ice water over the band director's head. So I reach out to the booster president and she's like, yeah, sure. I'll say he'll do that. We'll tell him later. So we did that for the week in July of 2024 that we were away at band camp. And I was a little nervous. I set the goal low in like the 2,000 range. And I was like, are we going to do this? Are we actually going to get people to give us $2,000 just for posting on social media and the opportunity for a couple seniors to dump a cooler of ice water over the band director's head? Well, turns out, that was a great possibility. By Thursday evening last year, we had reached our goal. So then by the time Friday evening came, we did live stream on our Facebook page and several more donations came in during that. And again, this was all enabled by credit card technology. So if you're not accepting donations online, it's a big missed opportunity. So I was like, that's fantastic. Because there are some fundraisers. I mean, we've sold Texas Roadhouse rolls. We've sold strawberries. We've sold fruit. We've done this. We have done all of the major fundraisers that booster orgs typically will sponsor. And we made $2,000 in a week just by making social media posts. So over the course of the year, I'm thinking, okay, how can we grow this? Because COVID really turned our booster operations upside down a little bit because we lost a major revenue source with concessions. Person-to-person sales just weren't happening. So we were behind the 8 ball coming into the 2022 year, especially because really we had about a year and a half of lost revenue all the way around. And it was coming time for us to do a lot of capital replacements. Our trailer was 16 years old. Our truck is now 15 years old. So it's coming time for really big level expenditures. So thinking, how can we get one of those items off of our to-do list this year? So it was decided the trailer. We are going to raise money to replace the trailer. So I thought we raised $2,000 last year. I'm pretty sure that we can raise at least $4,000 this year. So we had some donors step up, had some donor dollars come in for matching funds. So starting Sunday of band camp, we said we are looking to have $4,000 donated in order to get these matching funds. It'll raise $8,000. That will almost pay for the trailer. So by Wednesday night of band camp, we had met our goal. So we had raised right in the ballpark of around a little over $8,000. And then a few more donors stepped up for matching funds. By the time we closed out with our Friday night ceremony, live stream, broadcast, this year we did a senior challenge to drive folks to our Facebook where they voted for like the senior who was the most exemplary of the polar bear spirits. We're the Fairmont Senior High School Polar Bear Marching Band. So that drove a lot of people to our Facebook page to vote for that, captured some of that business through donations. So really, by the end of it all, we had overshot our second matching goal, and we raised a little over $10,000 in 1 week just through social media. Matching funds played a big role, and lesson learned. We'll talk about that later with what we'll do differently in the future. But we have purchased our trailer. We are currently in the process of getting it wrapped, which we were able to pay for through the additional funds that we raised. And then once we sell our current trailer, which it still has some market value, it's a little long in the tooth in equine terms, but also applies to trailers because we have a stone retaining wall that stretches all behind our narrow drive on the backside of our high school, and the band director gets a little too close sometimes.
Well, tell me, Chris, I'm a marketing guru, so dig in. Tell me what kind of posts you made. Tell me the cadence. Tell me how many you did. Tell me what the messaging was, because I think that's really some of the key to your success. So I'd love to break that down a little.
Again, I'm going to hop back to last year's campaign. Leading up to last year's campaign, I had spent a good percentage of the previous year cleaning up that page, focusing only on posts that matter. A lot of times it was really just reminder posts that were getting out there a lot. And we already had another platform that we were using for that kind of stuff. So it was really duplicated messages. I worked on driving our following, worked on cleaning up and getting rid of like spam postings, things like that. I tried everything I could to make sure the page was as tight and relevant as possible leading up to our first campaign. And that really paid dividends because we were able to drive a lot of new followers to the page. Our engagement on our page goes up quite literally over 1,000% when we're running our campaign.
You talk about like it was a long-term thing. Like a lot of people think they're just going to go in for a week. It's like you were building up to this, like a culture change almost.
Yeah. And when I made that Facebook post on the engagement group that we're both in on Facebook, a lot of people said, well, I don't know if we're doing social media right. Okay, so you first have to, if I'm a communicator, communications degree, that's my love, my passion, also a marketing nut and guru, and love watching the trends that are happening, especially in the social media space. But first and foremost, you have to analyze your audience. Who is following you? Who do you want to follow you? Who is your aspirational audience? And knowing full well that in any campaign, whether it's a mailing campaign, whether it's an email campaign, a phone campaign, a social media campaign, if you're really saturating 10% of your audience, getting them engaged and getting them to take action, you're doing pretty well. So knowing the follower count, you can say, let's just say we have 2,000 followers on our page. If we can get 200 people to donate, we're doing a great job.
Yeah.
And I know 10% sounds like a really low threshold, but truthfully, if you can get 200 donations out of 2,000 people, you're doing great. So planning and leading up to that campaign, really getting a lot of better messaging and marketing. I also started using Reels on our Facebook campaign last year to drive engagement with fundraisers, things of that nature. So
one of the things that we've noticed in our analysis is that even if you post now, your followers may not see that post. Whereas
correct.
A reel will travel beyond your followers just naturally, organically, without you even having to promote it. So we highly encourage all of our boosters to use video and get the reels out there.
Yeah, short video is really what's hot right now. So you have to be careful with it because there are some pitfalls. But yeah, so really the focusing in each day of telling a story. So a big focus that we had was past, present, and future. We looked back to prior graduating classes and said, hey, if you graduated in the 1960s, 1970s, tell your story. So the big thing that I encourage during the campaign is sharing stories, sharing photos, telling the story of what it means to have been in the band during that era. So recalling who your band director was, who was your section leader, what was your favorite field show, what was your favorite stand tune, what are some memories that you have. So really digging through all those old profiles, because you rarely meet someone who was in marching band for 4 years, 15, 20 years later, and they're like, I hated it.
Yeah.
They're like, I love band. Like, I was in band from 5th grade on all the way through my first year of college. I always tell, I'm going to give a plug here for college marching bands. If the college you are going to has a marching band, I don't care if it's totally different style than what you're used to, if it's so much bigger than your band from high school, if it's so much smaller than your band, be in college band, especially your freshman year, for one reason. It is absolutely the best orientation program that you will experience. It gets you on campus early for band camp. You get to move in early. You make friends early from freshmen all the way up through seniors. You get that orientation and acclimation to campus. The first day that you step foot on campus to go to class, you have friends all over campus. It's absolutely amazing. So I had to get that plug in for college marching bands.
That's a great point. Well, and you're right. I think that alumni are like the hidden gold mine of Booster Club volunteering, fundraising. I tell people all the time, you should have an alumni concession stand night where you invite people from 6 years ago to work together, because
that's a fantastic idea.
Yeah, I'd love to get together, but I kind of want the people I know. So if you say, hey, it's the Booster Club from 2020's night to volunteer, we'd probably get 10 of us and come out there, because
that's a great idea. Yeah.
So I love that you went after the alumni through the storytelling.
And honestly, the parents of alumni, they are typically your bigger donors. And you really do have to look at the age of your donors, because a student who graduated 4 years is just starting out in life. Yeah. So for us to be able to say, if you donate $10, it becomes a $20 gift. So securing those matching funds up front. I mean, we had gifts all the way from $5 all the way up to several $100s. I mean, I expected our average donation to be in like maybe $20 to $30 range. Our average donor was about $75. That's big. And in the future, we're going to approach all of those folks early and say, if you can commit to giving a gift ahead of time, we will use your gift as matching funds. So that way we can raise our funds even more. So that's what I would change in the future, is start earlier and get better buy-in on the front side of the campaign instead of just during. And like, the funny thing is, in light of our crosstown rivalry, their high school band did a social media fundraiser campaign this year after ours. So I was like, we did it first. We started it last year and did it great this year. But good for you. Good for them. I'm glad that they saw something that was working for us and were able to replicate it. Because let's be honest, the days of going in your neighborhood door to door, knocking to sell fundraiser items, families are getting tired of the fundraisers. It's like we alternate every other year as a travel year. So we will go to Orlando, to either Disney or to Universal every other year. So those are our trip years. So those, we have a lot more fundraisers during those years. Last year, we did our first calendar fundraiser campaign, and it was a huge success. No one had to buy anything. Grandma was glad not to have a box of oranges to deal with.
Yeah. Yeah, both online, digital. We have a peer-to-peer fundraiser in Booster Hub, and it just, the return on it is so much, because grandma just wants to give some money, and it doesn't, you don't have to split it with anybody or anything like that. So those work out really well. Now, so we were talking a little bit about the cadence. So about how many posts did you do? Just ballpark.
One per day.
One per day for a week.
Limit it to one per day. We update the list of donors every day with all the donors from the day before. I have found personally with social media that people start to ignore your posts if you see too many. Yeah. So what we really try to adhere to is just do one post a day, and we will continue to comment and like and share and all of that stuff. And that's the other thing too, is we send when I do the post every day, I send a message out to all of our boosters and say, go do the things, go comment, go like it, go share it, go do the things.
And do it quickly, because the sooner you do it, the more momentum it gets.
And honestly, another strategy that I have found that works is waiting a few hours and encouraging a different population to share it. Because the more mileage you can get out of one social media post, your comments go up. And I have found with the algorithm with Facebook, the more comments and engagement you get, the more exposure you get. I mean, it just makes sense. Of course, your brain is like, wow, that's how it works. But yeah, really, that is how it works. And the other great thing too is by building the friendships, you're raising more than funds.
You're adding fans, right?
Yeah. And I also like to borrow the term from public radio of being a friend raiser.
I love that.
Because the more you engage people from different areas of life. So the retired folks. And the other thing I've found too is that prior board members are so proud to see the work that they did start to be carried on and for that legacy to be continued. They're really proud. They like to comment. They like to share. They're often the ones tagging their kids in the photos. It's not necessarily the kids that are posting the photos. We find that a lot of the parents are posting their photos.
When I said alumni, I should have said that it's the parents of the alumni usually.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Well, and it was funny because you said you did it for a week and you did it once per day. So what I call that is the Magic 7. That Magic 7 is a phenomenally powerful number in fundraising. And a lot of people, they'll send 2 emails and they'll say, no one responded. And I said, people don't even see it till the 3rd or 4th one. And then they finally figure out what's going on 5 or 6. And then 7 is the one that they actually move on. So we usually find in our fundraising tool between 5 and 7 is when most of the donations happen.
Yeah. And we did a 12 days of giving before last Christmas through the social media page. We didn't get nearly the interactions or engagement on that campaign. Honestly, I think because it was too long. So it was, but it culminated with it is, it truly is. But honestly, we ended up raising almost as much as what we did last summer. Okay. So it wasn't terrible. It just stretched out, but it was a lot more infrequent gifts. But it really has kind of inspired me to evolve to develop an annual giving campaign. So that's really, really where we're headed in the future, laying the groundwork for that in the next few months to start that and really cranking up our donor recognition. The other thing too that I mentioned earlier, we just had our 60th anniversary band spectacular, started that back in 1965. There were folks in the stands who we recognized decade by decade, anyone from any band who had marched in the Polar Bear Band Spectacular. And a lot of folks, it was so cool to see folks from 1965 who were there for the very first event to see them stand. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. Is there anything you had mentioned a little bit, something you do differently next time or any obstacles that you're like, okay, next time we're going to avoid that?
A big one was we really do like to culminate on that Friday night of band camp with a Facebook live stream. The band performs the field show for that year as just kind of a preview. We announced our top seniors. And then, of course, we did the big reveal of what we had raised with the campaign. Our stream stalled out about 5 seconds before the polar bear plunge of the ice dump. So everyone was in the comments like, what happened? So one of the other boosters actually videoed it. So I was able to share the video later, but I was like, no. But if you have a social media position on your board, or if you have a communications chair or something like that that handles social media, my biggest recommendation is invest in an off-device microphone. The microphones built into phones are okay, but if you are trying to broadcast a good sound of your marching band, those microphones become overwhelmed very easily. The other thing is purchase a gimbal to make sure that your video is a little smoother, and it also keeps the camera out of your hands. Another big lesson learned on streaming performances, make sure your device is fully charged. That's something that I've always been very conscious of. I'm a huge theme park nut too, so I always have a battery backup stuffed somewhere in a pocket with things like that. But the other thing too, again, be sure to check your streaming quality, but also watch out for heat. I was trying to broadcast recently from one of our other exhibition performances, and the heat was right on the phone. It was no more than 15 seconds into the field show, the phone's like, I'm too hot. It's like, No! Yeah. So if you can get a white phone case, do it. It'll keep some of the heat off. But
keep a little heat off.
yeah, it's the devices can be a little finicky. So check your tech, invest a little bit in your technology, try to make sure you get ahead of the curve on that and be ready for it. And more importantly, play around with technology before you really rely on it for something big. If you can do a couple other broadcasts in the weeks or months leading up, just that way you can test things out, see how things work. For some reason with Facebook Live, I always forget to flip the camera. So they always get this horrible close-up video feed of me for like the first 3 seconds until I'm like, oh, gotta change it. So yeah. So just check your tech.
Well, Chris, I love your passion. You're the typical band dad, and I love how excited you are about all these little tiny things that most people, you're right. We're two peas in a pod. I tell you that for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I always like to wrap up our podcast. I know you'd mentioned that you were involved in band, I believe, when you were in school. Tell me a little bit about it and how did it impact your life? I mean, that's what we're all about here is impacting students' lives.
Oh, geez, you're going to make me emotional. Yeah, I am. I'm emotional. I think more than anything, band is home. And of all the organizations that I've been a part of, getting students together to accomplish a common goal. Yes, you have your pitfalls, you have your squabbles, you have your band relationships. They always get in the way, but I love to see them. So again, I started marching band as a 6th grader. So we did beginning band in 5th grade. We had a 6th, 7th, my middle school / junior high was 4th grade through 8th grade. So Mr. Sayer, Denny Sayer at Whitesville Elementary Junior High School at Whitesville, West Virginia, he really developed my passion and love of band and music because the area where I grew up, Southern West Virginia, coal fields, very much an impoverished area. It very much, and I can say this, having grown up there, very much stereotypical West Virginia. But he built bands that received superior ratings with low parent engagement, low financial resources. He made it work. Band directors have the ability to build the culture around the students, to scaffold those students, not only into something that's really incredible, but also something that carries them through life. Neither of my parents grew up in a household that had the resources to be in band. It just wasn't an option. And to give that gift to kids is not only giving them the gift of music, but also the gift of self-discipline, also the gift of the power of the creative spirit. So whether you ever pick that instrument up again after you graduate high school, you will always be a musician. You always have those lessons learned. And you created something beautiful. So there's always something absolutely incredible that everyone talks about the Friday Night Lights. They talk about the Friday Night Lights, the community spirit, the team, everyone's out to support the team. The band is there as the soundtrack behind all of that and is such an integral part. I have seen so many school band programs practically collapse. Leadership, directors moving on from job to job, trying to find a school where they can build that culture. But more importantly, what I would encourage anyone who listens to the podcast, always remember that there are kids in your program who are using that program as their not only creative outlet, but a social outlet and also a way to develop and pave a path into the future for them because of the skills that band teaches. So I really hate a lot of what is happening to the arts across America in our public schools. But anything you can do, not only for your band, but if there is a band nearby you struggling, if you see them raising money, go donate $20. Open your wallet, give to other bands, share resources, and make sure that if you ever see a band in a parade, cheer for the other bands as loud as you cheer for your own, because that's the spirit of music. Rivalries exist on football fields among football teams. But one thing that I love about the band, our band, is anytime we can, we bring the other band over to the stands with us and we play stand tunes together. And that is absolutely incredible.
Well, that's what makes the Friday Night Lights fun, right? If you don't have the music, it's not.
Yeah, and to be able to do something creative together almost at the drop of a hat is just, music is a language that everyone learns to speak, whether you learn to play an instrument or just learn to appreciate listening to music. Music has the power and ability to unite. That's the power of band programs, and that's especially the power of showing the community spirit and drive that marching bands bring to communities. So go support your band. Love your band director. I know a lot of band directors take a lot of guff. Love your band director. We love ours, and he's absolutely spectacular. Has wonderful wife. They met through band, and then they have twin sons, and their Christmas gifts last year were drumline equipment.
Well, I love it. I love wrapping it up. Band is home, and that band music unites the community. Those are great pieces I think we can take from this today. And thank you for what you do with your program and the time and effort that you put in. I know it's not easy raising kids and working and then also having a full-time job as a booster. So they're long days for sure. So thank you for all your commitment.
Yep. And in your booster org, when you get the right people in the right seats, the bus goes in the right direction.
Oh, I like that. I like that, Chris. We're going to use that. Well, thanks for joining us on the Boosted Volunteer, and good luck to the Fairmont Marching Polar Bears this season.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun.
The Boosted Volunteer is brought to you by Booster Hub. To find out more about Booster Hub and how our app can help you improve communications, increase engagement, raise more money, and manage your booster club responsibly, visit www.boosterhub.com. And then make sure to search for Booster Club Podcast in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Make sure to click subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. On behalf of the team here at Booster Hub, thanks for listening.